safer world is possible, and together we can and will make it happen. Thank you.
When you show up in community, you find that group that makes you feel like home, but oftentimes you also find yourself again.
And I turn your attention next to another royal story, because as I explained at the top of the hour, I feel that my gears are malfunctioning when it comes to non-royal stuff at the moment. It's as if you're fed an unleavened diet, I think I got to page 38 of the Daily Mail today before I reached a story that wasn't about the Queen or her family. And I'm not criticising that, I'm not offering an opinion, that's just counting. But it explains why the front page of the Financial Times has a powerful story about Kwasi Kwarteng contemplating a policy designed to give bankers bigger bonuses. One of his first acts as Chancellor of the Exchequer, potentially to give the highest paid people in the country higher pay. Incredible. But even as I say it to you, I don't feel the sort of aligning of the cogs that I would normally feel as I prepare to get informative and incensed about something despicable happening in our country. Those gears are not working for me this week, and it's Thursday, so I doubt they're going to kick in properly until next week, which is why, if you're wondering and you've just tuned in, we are today, although not all week, looking largely at royal-based stories. This one is not this is a royal story we could have at any point. It's not like the queue. It's not unique to this week or indeed this day. It's about the woman Meghan Markle, as was the Duchess of Sussex, as is. And I've got two reservations about having this conversation. The first is, I never know how much store we should set by social media bonfires, however huge they may appear to be. But that concern is assuaged by the fact that some household name quotes journalists, end quotes, in this country have grown very fat of late upon the diet of abusing this woman for reasons that continue to elude me, and abusing her in the vilest ways. And the second reservation I have is that today is Prince Harry's birthday. And it would therefore perhaps be inappropriate to have a conversation about why so many ghouls and vampires have such a problem with his wife. But I've decided that it's unlikely Harry will be listening today. I know he likes to tune in whenever he's in town, and he's a devil for the podcasts. But I'm fairly confident that he won't be listening live to the programme today. And even if he was, he would find nothing to complain about from what I have to say about him and his wife. Indeed, I think Prince Charles put it extremely well during his address to the nation last Thursday night. Here it is. Friday, was it? Sorry. Last Friday night.
With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know, continue to inspire and lead our national conversations, helping to bring the marginal to the centre ground, where vital help can be given. I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
And these people who describe themselves as fans of the royal family, or as monarchists, or as royalists, choose a day like today or a day like yesterday to abuse the man and woman that Charles himself, the King of England, King Charles, chose to describe his love for in the most clear and incontrovertible of terms. And that's part of the confusion I have about these people. How can you think that you're showing support for the monarchy by being vile about someone's son and daughter-in-law? People who he has expressed his love for in the most public way imaginable. What is it that you think you're doing when you condemn this couple? I'm saying you. I doubt you're going to ring me. You're more than welcome to, but we're probably going to do a they of it. Do they think that Charles is sitting there in Buckingham Palace, or wherever he sits at the moment, lying about how much he loves his son and daughter-in-law, and loving it when Doris Buncher-Numbers with a Union flag avatar on Twitter attacks his son, his beloved son and daughter-in-law? Is that what is the thought process that's going on here? Do these people think that they are show? Because I can't think of anything that's less royalist. I mean, it's treasonous. If you really want to get medieval about it, to slag off the king's son and daughter-in-law in this way, to speak about them in such a disgusting and vitriolic fashion, to pick over their every pronouncement and step as if it is some sort of affront to British values. And the reason I'm coming to this story today is because I cannot get my head around how disgusting these people are. I'm not going to mince my words. I think you are truly disgusting. On the occasion of someone's grandmother's funeral, and I'm using the word funeral to describe the events of the whole week, okay, not just the coming events of Monday. Or we could say death. On the occasion of someone's... Let's run through the facts, shall we? Right? Let's just get this absolutely right. We are talking about someone who has lost his grandmother at a time when divisions in the family are still raw. So the grief, the loss, the bereavement is exacerbated by the knowledge that the peace that had once reigned in that family has been diluted, has been diverted. So that's point number one. He's lost his grandmother, right? And he's been living abroad, so he wouldn't have had as many conversations with her as he might like to have had. Number two, when he was 11, he was compelled by, quotes, protocol, to walk a child, a baby, to walk behind his dead mother's coffin. A mother who was killed, he believes, rightly or wrongly, at least in part, by the uncontrollable, the insatiable attentions of journalists, British and foreign journalists, who pursued her into a tunnel where the car crashed. Now, the car was being driven by someone who was drunk, and there are obviously questions to be asked about both that and the fact that seatbelts weren't being worn. It's not a simplistic conclusion to arrive at. But if your mum died, how would you feel if I came along and told you that your opinions about your mum's death were worthless or wrong or mistaken? Oh, yeah, all right. Yeah, look, I know it was your mum, mate, but come here. You know, I've got a TV show. Let me tell you what... It's just gross. It's not funny. It's not fair. It's not journalism. It's disgusting. It's vicious and it's vitriolic. So that's point number two. Royal funerals for him must be absolutely unbearable, because that 11-year-old boy is very close to the surface in a week like this. That traumatized and, in my view, appallingly treated 11-year-old boy, wheeled out to walk behind that coffin, largely because the PR disaster of the royal family's response to the passing of Diana, Princess of Wales, needed to be assuaged. And what better way to assuage it by having her heartbroken boys walking behind the coffin at an age when they wouldn't be allowed into most films on release in this country, at an age when he'd be barely into secondary school in this country, before he'd sat a public exam, before he was considered old enough to, never mind drive a car, he wouldn't be old enough to... you can insert your own example here of just how youthful he was. So that's point number two, the trauma of attending royal funeral or funereal events. Unbelievable. Number three, because I don't think this...
Welcome back to Sussexful, everyone. Hi, I'm Emma. And if you're new here, a very warm welcome to Sussexful. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to join our ever-growing community that values compassion, truth, and understanding over hate and noise. In today's video, we're highlighting James O'Brien's powerful response to the ongoing cruelty aimed at Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, this time over something as human and gentle as holding hands during a moment of deep grief. Yes, you heard that right. Some individuals have chosen to twist a loving, grounding moment between husband and wife into an issue of royal protocol. But James O'Brien, with his characteristic intelligence and empathy, wasn't having any of it. He takes on these vicious and vile critics with clarity and grace, reminding us all that decency still exists in the public conversation. As one therapist beautifully commented, and I couldn't agree more, Harry's hand in Meghan's wasn't rebellion, it was reassurance. Imagine being that same young boy who walked behind his mother's coffin, the weight of the world's eyes on him, and now, decades later, reliving that grief at his grandmother's funeral. The emotions, the memories, the trauma, they don't disappear with a title or a uniform. They live on. And holding his wife's hand was a simple human act of love and comfort. It's astonishing how some people have such selective outrage. When strangers were wailing at the funerals of Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth, people who didn't even know them personally, there was silence from these so-called traditionalists. But when Prince Harry, a grandson and a son still processing unimaginable loss, finds peace in the touch of his wife's hand, suddenly the critics are out in full force. Maybe what they truly resent isn't protocol being broken. Maybe it's seeing in Harry and Meghan the kind of love, compassion, and emotional honesty they've never experienced themselves. And that's what makes James O'Brien's response so refreshing. He doesn't just call out the hypocrisy, he calls for humanity. He reminds us that dignity isn't about formality, it's about empathy. So thank you, James O'Brien, for being one of the few public voices unafraid to speak truth with compassion, for refusing to stay silent while others mock pain, for showing that decency still has a voice, and that it can be loud, articulate, and deeply humane. Here at Sussexful, we believe in that same spirit. We talk about the royals not as headlines or caricatures, but as people. People who feel, who love, who grieve, and who deserve fairness. If this message resonates with you, please like this video to help it reach more open-minded viewers. Comment below. What do you think of James O'Brien's defense of Harry and Meghan? Why do you think some people react so harshly toward them for such small human gestures? And hey, don't forget to subscribe to Sussexful for more intelligent discussions, compassionate insights, and a community that chooses kindness. Thank you for watching, for caring, and for being part of a community that values empathy over cruelty. Compassion and empathy, reflecting on the criticism of Harry and Meghan. The criticism leveled against Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for holding hands during the mourning period for Queen Elizabeth II is a disturbing display of a lack of empathy and compassion. As a therapist, I am honestly appalled by the vicious and vile attacks on this grieving couple, who are no doubt grappling with a range of emotions, from mourning the loss of a beloved family member to reliving the trauma of Harry's mother's funeral. The public's reaction to such displays of affection and vulnerability is a stark reminder of how easily we can lose sight of our shared humanity in the face of personal biases and prejudices. Rather than condemn Harry and Meghan, we should seek to understand the depth of their grief and the comfort they find in each other's embrace. By practicing compassion and empathy, we can begin to heal the rifts in our society and ensure that the atrocities of the past, such as slavery, colonialism, and genocide, are never repeated. The outpouring of grief for the royal family was, honestly, unlike anything most of us have ever seen. At the funeral services for Princess Diana and Queen Elizabeth, the scenes were a striking display of the public's profound sorrow. Strangers wept and wailed, calling out the names of these beloved figures as if they had known them personally. The overwhelming grief was palpable, with people flailing and weeping openly, their cries echoing through the somber gatherings. Notably, the usual critics remained silent during these powerful moments of collective mourning, perhaps taken aback by the raw, genuine outpouring of emotion from the masses. This stark contrast highlighted the deep personal connection that so many felt towards these members of the royal family, transcending the usual cynicism or judgment that often clouds public discourse. Harry's trauma and the need for support really can't be overstated. As Harry grieves the loss of his beloved mother, the presence of his wife Meghan by his side becomes all the more crucial. The trauma he experienced at a young age, witnessing the tragic death of Princess Diana, has undoubtedly left deep scars. The public nature of his mother's passing and the intense scrutiny that followed must have only compounded his pain. Yet in Meghan, Harry has found a steadfast companion, a source of comfort, stability, and unwavering support during this profoundly difficult time. Their tender displays of affection, like holding hands, serve as a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable grief, the power of love and compassion can provide solace and strength. Rather than condemn this private moment of solace, the critics who seek to vilify the couple would do well to reflect on their own capacity for empathy and understanding. The criticism of Harry and Meghan's public displays of affection is, well, honestly just baffling. The attacks on Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for simply holding hands in public are truly baffling. These critics accuse the couple of breaking protocol and somehow violating some unwritten set of rules. However, their displays of affection are nothing more than two people, deeply in love, taking comfort in one another's touch during challenging times. For Harry, who has endured immense trauma from the loss of his mother, this physical connection with his wife is likely a source of solace and stability. Yet these vicious, vile individuals dare to criticize such a natural human expression of emotion. Perhaps their resentment stems from an inability to find the same level of comfort and compassion in their own lives. Regardless, the public outcry against Harry and Meghan's tender moments is a shameful reflection of the callousness and lack of empathy that still exists in our society. You know, the resentment people feel when they see the comfort, love, and compassion in Harry and Meghan's relationship. It's honestly rooted in a long history of humanity's darkest moments. Slavery, colonialism, the Holocaust, and genocides. These tragedies were all made possible by silent bystanders who just stood idly by, unwilling or maybe even unable to speak up against the abuses they witnessed. This lack of empathy and compassion, well, it's what has allowed these stains on humanity to persist. So often, people resent seeing in others the very things they've yet to find themselves: the solace, the tenderness, the unwavering support that Harry and Meghan seem to share. It's a pretty sobering realization, but the same indifference that enabled history's greatest atrocities is now being directed towards a couple mourning the loss of a beloved family member. The critics' vicious attacks on the Sussexes, really, they just serve to unveil the depths of our own capacity for cruelty, especially when we're confronted with the vulnerability and humanity in others. The importance of speaking up against injustice really can't be overstated. James O'Brien's intelligent and humane response to the criticism of Harry and Meghan is honestly a shining example of the need to stand up against the vicious, vile individuals and their intolerance. In a world where cruelty and callousness too often go unchallenged, O'Brien's willingness to call out the baseless attacks on the Duke and Duchess of Sussex is a testament to the power of compassionate, well-reasoned speech. By refusing to remain silent in the face of unjust criticism, O'Brien reminds us that complacency in the face of injustice only serves to embolden those who would seek to spread hatred and division. His words are a clarion call for all of us to find the courage to speak up, to defend the vulnerable, and to champion the values of empathy, respect, and human dignity that should be the foundation of a just society. The impact of trauma and grief, especially when experienced at a young age, can be truly profound. The loss of a parent at a young age can leave an indelible mark on an individual's psyche, shaping their worldview and their responses to life's challenges. For Harry, the sudden and tragic death of his mother, Princess Diana, when he was just 12 years old, undoubtedly left a deep well of grief and trauma that he continues to grapple with even now. The images of the young prince, walking solemnly behind his mother's coffin, have become seared into the public consciousness, a poignant reminder of the immense pain and vulnerability that can accompany such a profound loss. Even decades later, as Harry navigates the complexities of adulthood and the pressures of royal life, the echoes of that formative experience continue to reverberate, coloring his perceptions and informing his actions. The lasting effects of childhood trauma are well documented, and it is a testament to Harry's resilience that he has been able to find moments of solace and connection, even in the face of public scrutiny and criticism. The power of compassion and understanding, y'all, can make all the difference in someone's darkest moments. As Harry navigates the profound grief of losing his grandmother, Meghan's unwavering support and compassion serve as a steadying force. Their tender gestures, like holding hands, reflect the profound empathy Meghan extends to her husband during this difficult time. In the public eye, they set an example of the comfort and understanding that can uplift the human spirit, even in the face of immense sorrow. Amidst the whirlwind of protocol and scrutiny, Meghan's ability to provide a safe harbor for Harry's emotions underscores the transformative power of empathy. Their open display of care and comfort stands in stark contrast to the callous critics who fail to recognize the depth of Harry's personal anguish, reminding us all of the importance of compassion, especially in the moments when it is needed most. Embracing empathy and rejecting intolerance honestly is more important now than ever. The criticism and backlash directed at Harry and Meghan serve as a stark reminder of the vital need to cultivate compassion and speak up against injustice. In a world often plagued by intolerance and cruelty, their experience shines a light on the importance of empathy and standing up for those who are unfairly maligned. As James O'Brien rightfully pointed out, the vicious attacks on the couple reveal the disturbing truth that many are all too willing to turn a blind eye to the suffering of others, even in the face of clear evidence of wrongdoing. It is a sobering realization that the same lack of moral courage has enabled some of history's darkest atrocities. Now, more than ever, it is incumbent upon each of us to heed the lessons of the past and actively reject the temptation of indifference. By embracing empathy and using our voices to challenge the forces of intolerance, we can forge a future where kindness, understanding, and justice prevail.